If you fail to plan, you will plan to fail. We don't plan only when we lose our jobs. We plan when we stay in our jobs.
Hello everyone, this is Pauline. Welcome to Financial Wellness with Pauline.
How to stay financially stable after losing your job in the US. Now, a little background about myself. I used to own a financial education company, the largest in Singapore and Malaysia, and I'm from Singapore. And I've trained hundreds of thousands of graduates going through my program since 2011. And a lot of times I realize people are not prepared for laying offs. Well, you might say, I am never prepared for that as well because I always felt that I have the skill set to do my job and I am a really good worker. I perform, I deliver what my boss wants me to deliver, and I probably have value add to the company. Well, you might have thought that you have done so too. So the key thing is right now, we have seen that there are mass layoffs across US in 2025. I think this is not just a problem in the United States. Basically, all over the world. We have seen like big mega tech companies like Facebook, even Amazon, they are laying off people. Times like this, probably they need to lay off not because the company is not doing well, it's just because they need people with different types of skill sets, mindsets, aptitude, and attitude. So financial uncertainty is hitting both unemployed professionals and those who are still in the jobs as well. So today I'm going to focus on what we mean by preparing for that in your financial wellness. A lot of people ask me, like from my experience as a financial mentor, why is financial planning essential for everyone and not just for those who have lost their jobs? First things first, if you fail to plan, you will plan to fail. We don't plan only when we lose our jobs. We plan when we stay in our jobs. Now, for those who are having your jobs right now, start your planning. So how do you start your planning? I'm going to give you the step-by-step strategies, how you can plan out for your financial readiness in case you lose your job. The first thing is the financial actions that someone should be taking before they lose their jobs and not after. So what we have to do is always set aside 3 to 6 months of your living expenses. Now, to play safe, I always tell people this. Always have 6 months at least of your living expenses set aside. Why so? Just in case you got laid off. Now, what do I mean by having 6 months? In the event that you need to spend like $3,000 every month. So you need to set aside $3,000 times 6 months, which is $18,000 in order to be safe. So in the event that you are being laid off and you are not able to find a job within that 6 months, it can cushion you for that 6 months. Your lifestyle most likely will not be compromised. So even if you want to lengthen it, you just compromise maybe a little of your lifestyle, but at least you are not in a hurry. You are not stressed out to look for another job which you might not like. So $3,000 times 6 months, that's like an $18,000. Or probably you want to put aside like $20,000 to round it up. Put aside to make sure that you always have that buffer just in case you are being laid off. So this is the first thing you need to set aside. So in order to set aside, of course, what we need to do is you've got to save money. Many people tell me this, and it's difficult to save money, especially I'm living in New York, California. Things are so expensive. With the rising inflation, what are the practical ways for me to reduce my expenses without significantly impacting my lifestyle? At the start, I always like to tell people this, which is called delayed gratification. Now, we want to enjoy and have a good lifestyle. For one, I love it too. What are the things which you can reduce your expenses? I know rent is expensive and rent keeps going up. So there are ways you can keep your rental as low as possible. One way is ask yourself, which area do you want to stay in? If you would like to stay in an expensive city and be close to certain prime area, you've got to be prepared to pay a higher rental. So in order to do that, what you can do is stay a little bit off the city. This is one. Yep, traveling expenses. You do your calculation whether it does make more sense, and time may take longer, or you may want to find a job that doesn't require you to work in the prime spot. And of course, some of the really good jobs would be you can work from home. Isn't that great? Now with the digital times, I believe most people can work from home or via computer. So these are the things which we could know, the practical ways we can reduce our lifestyle. First things first, probably see where we could reduce our rental. These are what we call the big ticket items. So we could start off from the big ticket items where we could reduce our expenses. For example, our rental, our cars. Could we replace it with a more fuel efficient car or an EV that can reduce our expenses? This is another one. Now, for those who are staying in the prime area where public transport, the metro, the subways are easily accessible or is within walking distance, you might want to save money on that. The other thing, bicycle, e-scooters, these are the transport which would be healthy. You could walk, you could bike, you could exercise at the same time, and it saves you money. Isn't that great? These are what we term as the bigger expenses, even vacation as well. If you have been traveling like twice a year, probably you might want to think of cutting it down in order to save up your 6 months and only start traveling after your 6 months buffer is up. So there are ways for you to reduce your expenses in such a way. Look at your lifestyle. Sometimes by adjusting your lifestyle, it doesn't really compromise the quality of your lifestyle. If I were to start cycling, a new hobby, even walking to my workplace for like a 40 minutes, 45 minutes, it might be worth it than to own a car and to pay for gas. This is what we term as, apart from the big expenses, you can do the little getaway. What do I mean by getting out the little getaways? Take a look, track your expenses. I highly encourage you to track your expenses. Things like, for example, a cup of coffee. How much do you spend on a cup of coffee? A sandwich. How much do you spend on a sandwich? There are times you could save a lot on that. So instead of eating out, instead of buying a cuppa from a cafe like, the Pets, the Phil's, and the Starbucks, what you could do is make your own coffee. It is much cheaper than buying a cuppa from the stores. Instead of paying like $3-4 for it, it costs you probably $1 or $2, half the price if you prepare your own coffee. And nowadays it's so easy with a filter. You don't even need a coffee machine. Get the coffee powder and you prepare your own coffee every morning. That saves you tons of money. Imagine you spend like 1 cup of coffee from Starbucks, which costs you like $5, and every day you drink 2 cups of coffee, that would be like $10 times 30 days, that would be like $300. Now $300 if you were to prepare your own coffee and it costs you like $1. If you do it twice a day, which costs you $2, you save $8. Times 30 days, that would be like $240. And this $240, you could actually save it up times a year. 10 months is like 2,400. If you times 12, that is near to like $3,000 per year. And that is like your 1 month of your salary or expenses. You set aside just for that 1 year of coffee, will set aside for that 1 year of a buffer. Isn't that great? And you still have your coffee, but in a different way. And probably you could become one of the best barista having the coffee that you like. And other things, like for example, you could prepare your own lunch, you could prepare your own food and make it healthy. Now imagine your lifestyle turning from driving from point to point, paying for gases, for car, and buying a Starbucks, and also eating out. Now you change it, you walk to work or you cycle to work, you bike to work, prepare your own coffee, you prepare your own meals. I can tell you, your life becomes healthier and you save tons of money of that. So this is what I tell myself, financial wellness, being financially strong and having that wellness as well. So the other way is about your loans. There are many ways you could manage your loans. And I know one which is a software that's really good called the Money Max, which is a debt management system. And I really love the tool which helps you to manage all your loans, and they are able to know which are the places where you have overpaid for your high interest rates and adjust accordingly. So moving your money around such that you can save tons of your interest, especially in the area of the mortgage loan. That software is called Money Max, and if you want to find out more about it, you know what? You could actually go over to my mentoring session. I've got a 45 minutes free financial wellness mentoring session, which you can click on the link below at paulineteo.com, and I'll give you a free one-on-one consultation on what you could do in terms of your debt management, in terms of how you can have a better financial and wellness as well. Any topic, Alright, so it's a free consultation for you, free mentoring. So let's go back over to in terms of reducing expenses. So this is the first thing which we could do. I'm sharing with you the number one thing, setting aside your 6 months of your expenses. The other thing that you could do is definitely in terms of making sure that you have the insurance in place. What we are afraid of during the time when we lose our job is when we don't have the money to pay for our medical bills. So make sure while you still have the ability, having a job in place, have all the insurance in place, be it your car insurance, your house insurance, and also your health insurance. It do happen as well. We know we have experienced from the wildfire in LA a few months ago that many people lose their houses and sometimes natural disaster. It is really critical for us to make sure that we do have our home insurance for those who own your houses. Do not save on insurance, like even car insurance. You know, there are times where we are out of jobs and things do happen. This is what we call the Murphy's Law. The more you did not want it to happen, the more sometimes it do happen. And health. This is the key thing. Never compromise on it. Why do we work so hard? It's because we want to be able to enjoy life. So if we want to be able to enjoy, we want to make sure that we are healthy. If you are sick, if you are not feeling well, definitely insurance is a must. Make sure you are covered while you have your job. So plan out your financials. So if you have any issues with financials, seek out a mentor. This is the third thing. Seek out a mentor. A mentor is really essential for you to make sure that you always have someone to guide you how to do that. I used to have a mentor, okay, and I learned how to manage my finances. This is the reason why today I can be financially free, and I've shared with so many of my participants regarding this thing on financial management. So 3 things what you could do. First, let me recap, which is to bring down your expenses and make sure that you have 6 months of your expenses set aside while you are having a job. Now, second would be for you to ensure that you have all of the insurance in place. Take a look. If you need help, get your financial advisors to assist you. They will be able to assist you. Use the right tool. Like for example, I mentioned to you like the Money Max tool, or there are some other apps to track your expenses. Or number 3, make sure you find a mentor. Learn how to do it. If you would like to get me as your mentor, I've got a free 45-minute session which you could do it. I've got a book which I normally after the mentoring session I will give out, which is called The Value Investing for Women, and I've authored another book called the Invest Like Buffett for Parents, which I give out to people as well, and I give out the e-copies on PDF version which you can learn. So apart from my books, learning is really important. Learn how to manage your expenses. There are books out there, there are YouTube videos out there, so you would know what to do when it comes to financial wellness. If you like this episode, share, subscribe, and like my channel. Remember, financial wellness with Pauline.